Hello and welcome back to Heroes Chronicles, the World Tree. This is post-production Great Emerald here. Yeah, somehow my microphone keeps getting turned off and I'm not muting it, but it still gets turned off regardless, so I have no idea why that happens. But hopefully... Okay, there's a text. 2 nights ago, one of the scouts spotted some undead transporting sacks of goods through the darkest tunnels. I've known for quite some time that the necromancers have been tracking the movement of my army, so when I camped last night, we built numerous campfires. The small force I left behind moved around from fire to fire to make it appear that my entire army was still there. Meanwhile, I led the bulk of my force toward the secret tunnels where my scouts spotted the undead carrying the supplies. Our trap was a success. We made short work of the wraiths and skeletons without a single loss on our side, although one orc will never use his left hand again. My plan was to deny the necromancers this shipment of supplies, but I never imagined we would find so much in those sacks. And these are actually statically selected numbers, so they really did enter 8482 there, and not just a range or something. Yeah, so I'll try to make sure that my microphone is on next time. But yeah, like I said, I will then just use this opportunity to air my thoughts, I guess. So in this game, we have the storyline where there are the necromancers who, for some unknown reason... Oh, and hey, it's the capital. So the necromancers, for some reason, want to take down the world tree. And barbarians are not fans of that idea, and they want to stop them. Hence, there's a war between the barbarians and the necromancers. And that's fair enough for this time of the storyline. But later on in Heroes Might and Magic 3, and probably in earlier Heroes Might and Magic games, more and more geopolitics will appear, and there will be all sorts of things like alliances and different storylines going in and interacting with each other, etc., and which is kind of neat. But yeah, everything gets more complicated as we go. And also, yay, there's a Red Keymaster stand, which we really do need now. So yeah, so everything gets more complicated later on, and that is a bit of a parallel to the real world when you think about it, in that in the beginning, wars were not very subtle, as in you want something that the other person has, and you just hit him on the head with your club and take that. Yeah, and as time progressed, that became more and more not the case, and wars started changing. And apparently in the 21st century, people started to think that, hey, maybe, just maybe, we have outgrown our tendency to war with each other. Maybe we can now focus on important things, like, you know, not getting destroyed by the changing climate. But apparently not, and now suddenly Russia has invaded Ukraine. Yeah. And that also shows how different the wars now get compared to even the last century. You don't get direct warfare now. Now everything is done through very a bit different means, although the main thing is the same, as in it's warfare. But now they just try to infiltrate the other country's territory with their agents and try to cause some chaos inside the country that they want to invade first, and then they just stage it as if they had nothing to do with it. Which did happen in the last century too. In fact, our own country did do something similar, and we're not that proud of it actually. But yeah, things were done. But it never really reached the amount of slyness and manipulation that you get to see in this war that's going on right now. They are doing some really mean things in this war. Well, just infiltration, yes, but also blackmailing, psychological attacks, bribing. The whole propaganda machine is extremely infuriating because all they do is spout lies about everything. And they get away with it because even though others from like the Western Europe, from the US, they try to get the facts straight, but they really cannot do much about it. Because, sure, they do get their facts straight in that time, but that doesn't stop them from creating like 10 more lies in the process. And of course they won't tell their own people that, oh, we're lying, you know. And nobody can do anything to them about it because, well, you cannot force them to stop speaking or anything. Well, not unless you occupy their own territory as well. And that's just a part of their whole informational war. The other part is what they are doing in different countries as well, not only in Ukraine, and that they're waging this informational war by doing espionage, by trying to gain supporters by really any means necessary, by creating things that don't exist and trying to prove that they do exist even though they really don't, and other things like that. They're also doing a lot of wiretapping, which, like, in the US there was quite a scandalous thing with that, with the NSA and all that, which probably not everyone even has learned the lesson of. But apparently the same thing happens in Russia as well, but since they have a more iron grip on that, such information usually doesn't go out into the public. Which is, you know, too bad. But yeah, like right now if someone talks on the phone, then you can probably say hello to both the people on the United States and also to people in Russia, because clearly both of those parties are listening to everything you say. So yeah. So basically what people there in Ukraine experience right now is that Russia is tearing their own country apart from the inside, which is like the most stressful thing ever. And yeah, that's also extremely mean and must be illegal in very many ways. But nobody seems to be doing much lately about it, which is really too bad. So yeah. So also of note is that they're not just attacking Ukrainians right now, but indirectly they're also attacking us here, Lithuanians, and also other people from the Baltic states. Indirectly in that they're doing those cybernetic attacks and still trying to maintain their false propaganda claims about things like us preparing some terrorists somewhere in our villages where nothing really can ever happen. So yeah, it's really annoying, and of course the other people who live more to the west may not really understand all of this because they're not targeted. And then when nobody really does anything to stop them, it really makes you wonder how far will Putin manage to go here, because if nobody is going to stop him, then sure, he can just go ahead and conquer half of Europe, until somebody actually understands that, maybe we should put a stop to it. And someone who have been under the occupation of Russia for quite a while, we know that that is really not a good place to be in. As in, not me personally, but that was very recent history for me, and I know how my parents, my grandparents who lived under the occupation, how they felt. And yeah, we really don't want that to come back anytime soon. And of course we will try to do that by any means necessary, even if that means that we have to sacrifice some of the things that are quite important, like the environment itself. So yeah, and if we don't get any help, then that is really bad for everyone involved. Yeah, so I would hope that everything gets sorted out peacefully, but that will not be the case, obviously, until someone makes something decisive happen and, well, simply makes the Russian government stop things. Now, just to make certain I mentioned this, I don't think that the Russian people themselves are bad people or anything. In fact, I know quite a few of them, and they're really smart and nice people. It's just that they have the worst luck trying to elect their government, and they always get burned by that for one reason or another, which is too bad, because everyone wants to live peacefully and try to find some good ways out of any crisis that may happen eventually or has already happened. And world wars are really not the answer to that, but apparently if you do let someone do what they want, trying to avoid wars, you get to a situation where it's even worse than before. In fact, the same thing happened in the 20th century with Hitler. Nobody wanted to start a war, and, well, guess what? They started the Second World War. That's really not a good place to be in. So it's better to just stop things like that preemptively instead of just hoping that they won't be mad enough to start a war. But yeah, so those are our real-world geopolitical things that are happening right now. And things like games like this, they are sort of inventive recreations of things like that. And well, some people say that that's not a good thing, you know, that it just promotes violence and other things. But I don't really agree because, well, for one thing, it's just what the history of humanity has been so far. And it was mostly wars. So obviously the main thing you can do with a game is to also make it recreate the wars. Because on one hand, they're very not nice things, but on the other hand, the whole geopolitical thing is fairly interesting, the story itself and such, and you can make an interesting game out of that. Also nice in that you have to make tactical decisions and think on your feet and such. And really nobody thinks that they should do the same things in the real life. Also, hey, there's a new hero, and Blue, who just crossed that border gate. which is kind of unfortunate, because that is very close to our town. And although they're not really strong, but best if they don't get closer to the town. Unfortunately, everyone is kind of far away. Tarnum will need 2 days to get there. But the enemy is probably far away as well, and Tarnum does have quite a bit of speed there. Yeah, so that was kind of my general comment on the current events, and I guess we'll see how they unfold. Will the same scenario as in the last century continue, or will we actually prove that humans are not as bad as they were earlier? Yeah. Alright, so let's see what's happening in this game. So we just got the Keymaster sent, which reportedly unlocks some border gate, but it's not the green one, so we cannot still go through and find out where that person came from, unfortunately. And yeah, the resource silo, we could probably use that at some point, but troops are kind of important here. Especially since we don't really have many in the town at this point. It would be a bit hard to defend the town if we didn't also buy more ogres and such. And we still have 3,000 gold left, which is good. That means we can just take experience instead of gold. And one reason for why we have so many gold pieces is that Tarnum has that artifact there. Gives us 1,000 gold per day, and that is a very useful thing to have. Alright, so since everyone is here, might as well have that hall built and give everyone +1 to attack, which means that everyone at this point probably has way more attack than they should really have when playing with any other town. Alright, have to get Gundula back as well. Expert defense does also give us more to the offense skill. Our specialty gives more as well. We have expert armor, 22 attack. So pretty much everything that we touch cannot stand in our way. Unless we only have things like goblins or such. Thankfully, now we have more than just that. Which makes me wonder if Tarnum really does need that many troops. Maybe I should give my secondary heroes something more. Because they do need to level up as well. Also, Gurnison has that ballistic skill, which means that he would be the perfect person to have defend this town if those enemies were to try and take it over. Alright, so we don't have enough for a Cyclops cave. We don't have enough to pay for another level for some of our secondary heroes, because we don't have enough gems. And there haven't been any gem ponds or crystal mines anywhere around the place. And I'm not sure if this whole map actually has any. Well, I guess we'll see it in the future. But yeah, those resources are kind of scarce. Don't really need all that much of those, but would probably help. And now we get upgraded Thunderbirds, which is very nice. And we can also attack those Thunderbirds right on this day, which probably is an okay idea. That is, assuming that on the other side of these guys we won't find a lot of enemies. Which can happen. Also, yay! Expert slow. That's always useful. Of course, the main thing is to just stay a bit back and let them go forward. Then defend our archers. Also, I realized that this is not the right place for them to stand. This is enough to make sure that nobody can attack our orcs. And now we have goblins who can do something useful for a change. Then have everyone stand just outside the range of the Thunderbirds, and they should be fine. One thing they could do is attack right now, but that probably wouldn't do much aside from put them at risk. Better to first cast Curse, then wait a bit for them to move. In the meanwhile, shoot once more. Or twice more. And then everyone can attack. We could take down their retaliation shot, which may be an okay idea. And I decide to do that. However, that was probably not really necessary, because even if I attack the 6 Thunderbirds, only one of them survives. And of course, nobody could ever resist a behemoth, well, 3 behemoths with 22 attack, plus all defense bonuses. So that was probably one goblin who didn't really have to be sacrificed, but whatever. And more sorry. The reinforcements from the surface are late, and there hasn't been a word from them since the day they left. Where could nearly 500 troops disappear to? I hope they are simply lost in the twisting tunnels, but I have a sinking feeling something has gone terribly wrong. The only thing I can do is send a couple scouts to search for them. Yeah, so that lends credence to my idea that perhaps that elf druid that is supposed to be coming here will in fact only appear in the next scenario. Which would make sense in terms of things that we can do in the engine of this game. Also, this is the week of Wolf Raiders, and I don't see my Wolf Raider numbers increasing any more than they should have. So I'm not really sure what's up with that. Pretty weird. Alright, so Goblin Barracks. quite useful. Get the gold, and we have 14,000 gold, which is really good. One thing that Gondola can do at this point is to give Tarnum some of the troops. Which is a bit of a problem because Tarnum can move really fast due to him having some of those artifacts and also logistics and I think pathfinding as well. But oh yeah, and if we look at the tavern, we actually have level 11 people here, which is really strange. But it's fine in that if we lose one of our secondary heroes, we can just buy a level 11 one, and so it won't be that much of a loss. Right. So... I don't remember what I was doing here exactly, but yes, so Tarnum can go exploring further, and while he is exploring, Gondola can transfer some of the troops. And I want Garrison to stay in the town to make sure it's secure. Right, so plenty of troops here. Unfortunately, I didn't upgrade my orcs to orc chieftains. And the amount of gold that we have is pretty much enough for everything except for 4 ogres. And that's quite a bit of a reinforcement for Tarnum's party. However, one thing I kind of forgot at this point is that if I buy everything, suddenly my town only has 4 ogres to defend. Which can be a bit of a problem. I don't have enough crystal to buy Cyclopes. And so if anyone was to come from below, we would be kind of in a sticky situation. We also don't have enough money to buy the war machines either. So I just had Tarnum explore a bit. Just one to morale. Then there's a crypt, which would be very useful. Maybe we could even find crystal there. And this tells us that we already know it's Shredbook Grey. Yeah. I really thought we didn't have that, but apparently we do. It's just that it's an air spell and I was certain it was a fire spell. So having that is very useful actually. Against strong single enemies, at least. So yeah, it would be nice to visit the crypt. But first, maybe we should take the Star Axis. And what is here? That's the same person who we just saw, but he is standing in a gold mine. We can't have that. It's a good thing I didn't go to the crypt, because there is a pretty high chance of it having been taken already. So going in there would only reduce our morale. I will have to check that out though, but with the secondary hero. And yeah, so we still don't have the green border gate, and the red border gate goes through there. I'm not sure where this goes. The obvious thing would be that there is a green Keymaster stand behind the gate. But then why is there a second level to this map? I'm not sure. But I guess we'll find out once we go through that gate. It's too bad that Tarnum couldn't reach the enemy, but at least he's blocking the path a bit, and so the enemy won't be able to run away. Although they might be able to go through their own border gate, but probably not even that. Well, we'll see what they decide later on anyway. And for now, that will be all, and I will see you all next time. Later.